Hello, everybody. This is Mishka Kimball from Kimball Collective. I hope you can hear me well. I am going to let our guest come in. All right. Hello. Thank you for joining us. I'm so excited. Today we're going to be talking about SEO. Perfect. Thank you, David. You can hear me. And our guest is coming. We're going to have Jessica Tappana from Simplified SEO Consulting joining us here in a minute. And there she is.
Hello.
Hi, Jessica. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So glad to have you here and to get to have this awesome conversation.
I know. I've been looking forward to it all day. I love talking SEO. So,
Yes, and I'm super excited and looking forward to it because it is definitely something that not a lot of us understand, right? So before we get started, I just want to give a short introduction and then I'll let you tell us more about yourself. So today here we have Jessica Tappana, and she is an LCSW. She's also the founder of Simplified SEO Consulting. She's a therapist, a mom, and an SEO guru. And we're so excited to have you here today. So tell us a little bit more about you and your journey.
yeah, thank you for having me. I'm so excited that thanks to Therapy Reimagined, we got connected because our work is so intertwined a lot of times. Um,
Yes.
yeah, so I started to practice when my daughter was born, and the original goal was to work, part-time. I think I was starting, like I said, I was going to do 10 hours a week, and I was working beyond full-time really quickly because there's just need in our community. And so as my practice grew, and then I had people asking if they could come work with me, I'm like, sure, I guess. I joke, I accidentally started group practice. And then I found people were calling though and asking for me. And I'm like, but I have these really cool, amazing clinicians. You should work with them too. And so that's why I learned it was because I found if people came to my website, they got to get a feel for all of us. And also SEO was something I could do when my daughter was asleep, so it wasn't something that I had to have like a babysitter for, like the networking. Although I love going and getting coffee with people, it wasn't always super practical early in my practice. So I learned
Yeah.
SEO, and I accidentally started an SEO business when friends started asking me to help them as well. And so now we have a team of 6. Most of them are smarter than me. Most team members, and we're like a little miniature family, and just love helping people. And I love getting to wear both really different hats, which I know you understand, getting to have like the clinical hat and then also the SEO hat that's a little bit different.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, and I love it. Don't you just love it also when you accidentally start a new business? I totally relate because, I started also you just as you as a therapist and then expanded into what now is Kimball Collective, where we do graphic design and logos and websites for other therapists. And it kind of started like that too. My brothers are graphic designers, and so this is also a family business. And my brother did my logo, and then everybody started asking like, "Where'd you get your logo? It's so beautiful." And I was like, "Oh, my brother did it." And then they were coming to me, and I was like, "We should just start a business," you know.
I love
And
and
and it just grew from there.
and to work with people that you have that kind of trust with, and that you can have those conversations about products with. I know the two members of my team are people that I've known for well over 10 years. One of them I've known since she was in middle school and I was in high school, because she was friends with my sister. And I think just to have, I can't even imagine working with family, but have those people that you trust, that you can have those conversations, that you can go problem solve and have that kind of openness. And now whenever we bring someone else on too, we're like really intentional about having that relationship to make the workplace fun. And also, you just do better work if you have a team atmosphere where you can have that open dialogue.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. Well, and as you mentioned before, we met through the conference Therapy Reimagine, Katie, Verno, and Kurt, and they connected us, and we're both going to be participating. If you don't know about Therapy Reimagine, it is the conference of the year for therapists, for modern therapists. And so today we have two therapists who have expanded and who now help other therapists thrive in their private practices, right? So Jessica, as I mentioned before, is a SEO guru. So let's talk SEO. Tell us a little bit. We don't know what that is, right? Is it just like keywords? Like, what is it? What is SEO?
Yeah, so when I first published my website and I thought like, oh, it's a pretty website. It represents me. I was so excited. And then of course, like nobody was finding it. And I had no idea that building a website and this optimizing a website were two separate things. And a friend's like, so are you doing SEO and stuff? I go, uh-huh, making a mental note to go look up SEO, which I immediately did. So if you're just now hearing the word SEO, you are not alone. But SEO means search engine optimization, which is anything you do to try to get your website to show up in search engine results. So it can be things you do on your site. There's a ton of different things we can do on our site to optimize for SEO, or things you do off your site, like getting a Google My Business listing or things like that. And so there are over 200 things. When Google's trying to decide like how to rank your website, it looks at over 200 different things. I like to think of SEO as like a 300-piece jigsaw puzzle with some much bigger and some much smaller, different different
Wow.
um, pieces. Like some are bigger, some are smaller, and you have to figure out how they go together. And so it's fun, but it can be a little overwhelming if you're on the therapy side of things and just now like 200 things. How do I get started?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I know that this could be a much bigger conversation, right? But what are some of the most important aspects of SEO, or what should we prioritize or know about it?
I think the first thing I always tell people is that they should work with someone like you on branding and have a really amazing website. It all starts with having a really clear website that's well branded, that it speaks to your niche, that clearly represents who you are. Because so many things, technical SEO matters, which that starts with having a website that's free of major technical issues. But B, the more in love with your website you are, the more you're going to work on actually getting it out there and promoting it. And so starting with a website that you love, if we're talking SEO, you have to start there. Then prioritizing having content that talks about what you're really good at. And I know a lot of us were educated to be generalists, very much so. And I do everything. I love seeing everybody. I love having a variety of clients, and that's fine. I love a variety of clients too. But if you think about like who you're really, really good at and what some of the things are maybe that you do that are different than someone else, and creating content on your website that speaks to that. A lot of times this is a few different service pages that describe those specialties you have, and then blogging. A lot of therapists, like I know, cringe as soon as I say blogging, but it's so good for SEO. It's possible
No.
out of blog, but man, guys, it's so much easier to rank with a blog. And so writing really awesome blog posts, I like to say if I've had a conversation with a client twice in a week, it's probably a topic relevant enough to my clients that I should write a blog post on it. And so just trying to think about, a lot of times we think about blogging for SEO, and it's true, blogging's great for SEO, but that can get in the
Huh.
way of writing blogs. And so I like to think of that as one of like the basic things you should do is get out there and blog and just put imperfect content up.
Oh, wow. So the blogging, because I've heard this a lot and people ask this, right? Like, do I really need a blog? And what you're saying is yes, like it actually is very, very important for to have good SEO and for people to find your page, your website.
Yeah, I think that there's lots of ways around it. Like I've had therapists that absolutely despise writing, and so they make vlogs, they make like video blogs, and then they have someone like transcribe those and put them into a blog or whatever. And so, there are ways around doing a ton of writing if you really truly hate it. And there are some websites that rank without a blog, but I would say it's like 10 times easier to get ranking if you're blogging. And so I do think it's important for SEO.
Oh, well, that's really, really good to know. I know I need to start. I have a blog and I don't always consistently write on it. And I think this is what happens to most of us. But now that I'm talking to you, I'm like, okay, I need to start posting on there. Yeah.
Yeah, we all have things to say. And, I mean, I was trained as a DBT therapist and did that when I opened my practice. And so every DBT therapist can probably describe the DBT skills. Sorry, I have a fly flying around me right now. But at but but we can each write our own blog post on our favorite skill, and even if we're all writing the same, about the same topic, we're going to put our own spin on it. We're going to
Yeah.
cross, how we do it. And so, yeah, I think people are way more intimidated by blogs than at first than they are once they get started. And but yeah, no, blogging's good. Getting backlinks are good. So getting people to link to your website, and then tons you can do to optimize on the page. Getting good headers that have kind of the words people might be searching for, what we call keywords in the headers, not just at the top of the page, but having some headers that really kind of break up the page.
Mm.
Photos that are optimized, so not a huge file size.
Mm.
And then, you can even put like a caption that uses some keywords on your photos. And then lots of internal links. If somebody's on one page of the website, you want them to go to other pages of your website.
Uh,
Um, so it's
so
good to together.
that's what internal links means. So like if let's say you're on the home page, you can click on a button that takes you to the services, for example. Right, it's all the pages are linked together.
Absolutely. And I like to even have, like, if I'm writing a blog at the end, have like other blogs I've written that might interest somebody, as well as a call to action on that blog post that's like, hey, get started, that might link them. If I've written a blog post about depression, I might link to my depression page. Things like
Mm.
most of the time, most websites, there are a few exceptions, but most websites have too few internal links when we first look at it. So they're not taking those opportunities to link their pages together. And so people might look at one page and kind of hop off. And if we put more links on there, that's good for Google, and it's also good for the user if you're putting relevant, well thought out links on there. They might finish my blog post about depression, and then, yeah, they might want to
Yeah.
take my depression page. That's relevant. It makes sense to go there next.
It makes the experience for the client much easier, right? And they can navigate it. And then that means they'll stay on your website much longer, because I think it's like the average that people spend on a website is what, like less than a minute, right? Like 30 seconds,
Yeah.
something like that.
I'm always aiming for like 2 minutes when I'm first working on somebody's SEO. And then when they get really to be a massive site, then actually we find that when their reach is too big, then sometimes that number actually decreases because you're getting people popping on your site that might not be relevant. I'll get somebody popping on my site from Canada. I'm not licensed in Canada. So of course they're going to pop off. I would expect that. But yeah,
Right.
no, are on your website really, really fast. They make up their mind super duper fast, whether or not they're going to stay
Mhm.
on, which is why the design piece comes before the SEO piece. Because if I can get people to your website, but if it visually doesn't look nice, or it doesn't represent who you are, then they're going to hop off, or the
Yeah.
wrong people are going to call you if it's not a fit who you are. But if it's visual and pretty, that buys you a few seconds that they're going to stay on your site. And then hopefully the content will keep them there. And then the internal links will be like, and there are all these other pages of my website you might want to check out too.
Yes, and you're so right, right? All the pieces are important and go together. And the branding and the design, the visual of the website, the copy of it, right? But it needs to all be engaging. Because the way our brain works is like the first thing we see is the shapes, right? The colors. What does it feel inviting? Does it represent me, right? Do I feel welcome here? All of that, all the pieces are important.
It's so
Yeah.
important. It's no good to get a ton of people to your site if you're not going to convert people and you're not going to convert the right people. Because the other question therapists, I'm like, okay, we're 6 months in, we've done, see that tons more people are going to your site, but A, are you getting more calls? Is it converting? And then B, are you getting the right calls? And the right call has a lot to do with the branding piece. It has a lot to do with the copywriting piece, and it also has to do with the SEO piece. Are we getting the right, are we using the right keywords, that the people that are coming to your site are actually legitimately interested in the service you provide, and not just looking for for random general information about depression.
Totally.
Depression is an example today, but we're going there. I
Yeah.
think see people with depression.
Totally. No, you're so right. We actually have a question here from Shanla Ray. And hi, Shanla Ray. Thank you for joining us. So she asked, do you need to post blog on social media or just on your website?
I absolutely love this question. So, you're going to post the blog on your website, and then do you put it on social media? I say absolutely yes. Everything that you can do to get people to your website is going to help you out. And of course, then like you want to stay there. And if they follow you on social media, they already have some sort of interest in your practice. And so, like my practice, I didn't up my social media game for a long time. Social media is still, like, actually, to be honest with you, I have people at both my businesses that help me with social media, but when we started talking about, of course, I was wearing my SEO lens, even talking about social media, and so my at both of my businesses, but certainly in my private practice, she posts every new blog post that we write gets shared, and then about once a week an old blog post gets shared, because at this point, several years in, I have like this huge plethora of old blog posts, and I don't want them to never be seen again. Like, I took time to write them. I care. They, I think, have hopefully helpful information. And so once a week, usually an old blog post gets shared too. It gets a little bit of revitalized, a little bit of life to it. Google's aware of that. So there still seems to be some debate about like how important social media is for SEO, but there seems to be a correlation. Again, most of us remember from our stats class, correlation does not mean causation, but in general, it seems to be, if you have a great social media presence, it seems to be slightly more likely that you would have a well-ranking website. And my thought is, the more traffic you can get to your website in any way, like, the better. And so absolutely, we do share our blog posts on social media.
And I can attest that it's true because we are very active on our social media and we have our Instagram linked to our website. And when I look at the analytics of my website where traffic is coming from, a big part of it comes from Instagram and Facebook. And some of it is also where they directly find us on Google, but there's a big part of it they find us through social media, right?
And I love looking at the Google Analytics. So if you have a website and you don't have Google Analytics set up, it's free, it's great. But what I love is you can see like social media, organic search, paid search, if you're doing like Google AdWords, all these different ways that you can get clients to your website. These are all great methods of digital marketing. People be like, do you think you have to do SEO? And I'm like, actually, no, I think there's lots of different ways. It's a really great way that's really built my practice. We had it's huge for us. But what I love is Google Analytics allows you to look at all of those digital marketing strategies, see where your clients are coming from, where visitors are coming from, and the quality. How long are they staying on your page? How many pages a session are they looking at? Modify your efforts from there. If you notice that social media is typically getting you, clients that bounce off real quickly and don't stay very long, then maybe you want to your social media strategy a bit. We look at it because if we have people from organic search that are popping off real quick, then that tells us that we want to modify our strategy. There are a few different things that we'll kind of look at, either what's called a meta description. So what comes up in the search results that they click on, we might modify those to make sure it really accurately represents the page. Or if people are hopping off real quick, we might look at that design piece and be like, is this super authentic to you? Or we might look at links. There's lots of different things you could do. But yeah, Google Analytics really underused by practice.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, this is so interesting. And so like SEO is an ongoing thing, right? Like it's not something you just do one time. You have to keep working on it.
Yes, and so typically there's like a really intensive period where you're getting where you want to go with SEO, where you're getting to the top. For what we found, it depends on how competitive an area is. I know you're in California. California can be a little bit more competitive, but generally What we find is if we, go full tilt at SEO for about 6 months, we typically get people around where they want to be. Now, people in more rural parts of the country where there's very little competition, it might be more like 4 months. People in super competitive areas like LA or New York City or parts of Colorado and Florida even, they might have to go longer. But once you get where you want and you want to stay on top of Google, it can be a lot easier. And like my practice, I write a couple blogs. It's not always twice a month. That twice a month is kind of our standard suggestion. There have been months where we haven't because I've been focused on other things and we don't lose it overnight. We, sometimes we try to stay on directories. We try to keep up with Google. We do some for SEO. It's not like we're constantly working on. I don't have time to constantly work on my SEO anymore. I'm so glad I put in most of that effort earlier in practice.
Nice. And so now maybe let's talk a little bit about that and how SEO can help us as therapists in private practice. And how have you seen it help therapists in private practice?
Yeah, I love the stories. We actually, so like I said, I have a small team of 6 of us, and at the beginning of every week, on Mondays, we have this time where we just share the success stories, and it's so much fun. So I'm very biased, obviously, but I feel like it's extremely powerful for growing your practice. So when you think about it, unfortunately, there's still a lot of stigma with the services that a lot of us offer. It can still We're working on it, folks. We're working on it, but still in this day and age, even it can be a little bit easier to ask somebody for a recommendation for a plumber than to ask somebody for a recommendation for a therapist. And so what we see is a lot of people are searching online for their therapists. They are looking online for mental health providers. And so when they do that Google search and your website shows up, they're gonna click on it, and if they like what they see, there's actually some studies that have shown it takes as many as 7 times for somebody to come to your website before they're actually going to pick up the phone and call, which is again why we can funnel them a little bit to social media so that they get funneled back to our site over and over again. That can be good, but it can be really a powerful thing for them. For SEO to be right there and meeting our clients where they're looking for our services. And so when we do that, when we're showing up, really we want to be on the first or second page. People, honestly, a ton of people drop off after the first page, even more drop off after the second page. So that's really where the key are those first 2 pages. And when you're there for the right terms, it can be so empowering for a practice. We see people who've doubled, tripled, quadrupled their practice in the time we've worked with them over the course of like a year. It's not overnight. SEO is not a quick fix. If you want to get up super quick, that's Google AdWords where you're going to pay every month. So sorry, I'm getting animated. I mean, like I don't want to be like, it's going to happen tomorrow, because it's not. It's very time consuming. But when it happens, and because SEO, like I said, you don't have to do as much long-term after you rank well, it can be really powerful to set you up long-term for success. And, I worked heavily on mine about 3 years ago now, and now do very little. And sometimes my website's not even my best example of great SEO practices because we're like, we're at the top, we get lazy. But we had 122 clients that had called in August. We were just running the numbers today.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's a lot for a small.
Yes.
I don't want to grow a huge practice, but I actually am looking at bringing a couple of people on because there's such huge need in our community. But those numbers are way more than we need to sustain our practice. We filled up friends' practices with referrals and just by SEO.
That's amazing, because I know you have a private pay practice, right?
Yes.
And so, one of the questions that I get a lot from therapists is, how do I fill my practice? And can I fill a practice with just private pay, not taking insurance and, charging my regular fees? And SEO is a great marketing strategy to really bring in and fill your practice with those ideal clients. It really is a well worth it investment.
I think so. Yeah. Typically, if you want to be private pay, you do have to invest more in marketing because you don't have insurance companies doing the marketing for you. But for me, that's really well worth it because I have the freedom to do, to do a 60-minute, to do 60-minute appointments when somebody wants 60. Yeah. We could talk all day about the pros of being private pay, but there's so many reasons that I love being private pay. And it just, that I would much rather actually invest my time in writing blog posts than I would invest it in dealing with insurance companies. Enough of my friends have insurance-based practices, but a huge portion
Yep.
of SEO clients are private pay. Both are people that we're training to do their own SEO and people that outsourced us because a lot of times it can be really particularly powerful in private pay. And yeah,
So it can do amazing things for our practices. Yeah.
it's really the only marketing that I invest in my practice. Of course, we get
Wow.
lots referrals from other from former clients and current clients and that sort of thing, but the vast majority, but Google is a huge, we have the analytics that that's where the vast majority of our people come from. And as a group practice owner in particular, I love that my clinicians say to me, like, I don't feel bad turning down a client who's not a good fit and referring it to someone else in the community because I know there's a constant source of clients. And so we all, like, I strongly encourage my clinicians. I'm like, I want you working with the clients that you will feel less burnt out with and that you'll feel really successful and really effective with, because that's, I think, we're not in this business to get burnt out, but it's so common that we do, that I think that we tend to get burnt out a lot less if we're working with the right clients, if we're working with the clients that excite us, the clients that we feel that we know we can make a difference with. And really, that's what SEO has given not just me, but every clinician in my practice, is that ability to know that if I turn down a client today because they don't feel like a good fit, we're going to have somebody calling tomorrow and they
Yeah.
may be a better fit. And so we work really, really hard with my VA that does our intake team. She's been with us for several years now, and she'll work really closely with my clinicians and let them be super duper duper picky because
Yeah.
I'm happy. I want them to enjoy coming to work. The story, how excited they get to be like, this client made this, huge gain, and this client's finally getting discharged. Can you believe it? We've been talking about her for a year. And those are the things that keep us really motivated as clinicians to keep doing our
Yeah.
job. That's, to me, more even than like the growth of my business has been the happiness that I have from choosing like I only see about 8 clients a week now, but they're my favorite clients. They're amazing. But my clients get to have that same feeling, even if they're seeing
Yeah.
25 off.
And that's priceless to really be able to work with the clients you love to work with and not feel that you are burning out, because you're right. We are, I mean, the rates of burnout for therapists is so high among all healthcare workers. Like, it's very, very bad. And so this is so valuable. And the last question I want to ask you, because I want to be respectful of your time, is can do we need to hire an SEO expert? Is it something we can do ourselves? And if they need your help, like, how can they work with you?
I
How can
love
we work with you? Yeah.
Yeah, I love this question because SEO is so intimidating. And I think if you take it piece by piece, it's possible to learn it. Dude, if you got through grad school, you can figure this out with a little bit of help and the right resources. And so I like to think of it as SEO is typically a huge investment of time or money. You might spend less money, but put a great deal of time when somebody's active. Like if somebody's participating in my training program, I ask that they commit at least 2 hours a week outside of the training program or outside of our individual sessions for at least 3 months. So you can, if you want to learn it yourself, you can. I have a course. There are other courses out there. We do, we're getting ready to do a mastermind. We do individual training. There are lots of options out there to learn it. And you can, if you're, either on a you're bootstrapping it, you're on a, I'm mixing up all my metaphors today, but if you have a tight budget, you can learn it. If you'd prefer, if you'd really prefer to be sitting there seeing your favorite clients or whatever, if there are other things you'd prefer to do, outsourcing it is great. Typically, it will be faster, a little bit more effective. There's still some time investment. I know we meet with our practice owners every month for, depending on the package level, around 45 minutes is the most common to be. So there's still some time investment, but it's a lot less. But of course, then you are paying for outsourcing. So I don't think you have to outsource. I think if you want to, for a lot of practice owners, your time's better spent somewhere else. But still be informed. Still ask lots of questions about what somebody's doing, even if you're out.
Yeah.
Still want to know
And it's
what you're paying for.
very technical, right? So, I mean, if there's a lot to learn if you want to do it yourself. But so as you're saying, a lot of time invested, a lot of energy where you might want to use that time, spend it with your clients, right? And invest in someone who knows as an expert like you, right? Uh,
Like a foreign language, and there's so many, in like our field, there are all these different acronyms you have to learn that make it sound super intimidating. So yeah,
yeah,
in every skill you do, you have to like fine tune it. So a
yeah,
lot of way easier just to just
yeah,
out. So that's always an option. But I don't like to tell people they can't do it, because I don't think that's true. I think it's
yeah.
possible to do it if you choose. It's just that practice owners, it may not be how you feel, what you feel is the best use of your time.
And you offer different options, right? Like where you could do it for them, or you also teach them how to do it, right? Themselves.
Yeah, we offer both. We have DIY courses for people that really, need something super affordable, where we show you most of our secrets, but you have to then, figure out how to apply it to your site. We offer like one-on-one coaching, a one-on-one training program where you still get the course, but then we're meeting with you, talking about how to apply each piece, and like getting on your website with you and helping you. And then we offer, like, our most popular service is our Done For You, where we still take a team approach. All my team members have at least a bachelor's degree in psychology or social work. And we get in, but we have all, like I said, they're all smarter than I am actually about a lot of the technical, but we get in there and really do the work for you. And so, yeah, we try to meet people where they are and give people options, because we respect that different people need different things, and want to empower clinicians to, choose what works best for them.
Wonderful. And how can they get in touch with you? If anybody watching now or when they watch the replay, how can they get in touch with you, Jessica, if they need your help?
Yeah, so our website is simplifiedseoconsulting.com. Or you can always, if you just have a quick question, I love to answer questions. So Jessica at simplifiedseoconsulting.com is my email, and you're welcome to send me a direct email. It might take me a day or two to respond, but because you'll get like probably a little bit longer answer than you anticipate. I'm very wordy, but I love answering people's questions.
Thank you so much. And your Instagram handle is Simplified SEO. And so they can also find you there. Thank you so much, Jessica. It's been such a pleasure having you with us and sharing all your knowledge. You really are an SEO guru. It's amazing all the knowledge that you have. And we're so appreciative because, again, this is not something that we learn or that we really are familiar with, right? So thank you for sharing. So there you have it, folks. If you need help with your SEO so that your website can really rank well and clients can find you, and you want to fill your practice with those clients, you can reach out to Jessica for help with that. And if you need help with branding, as we talked about earlier, the branding, the visual, and having a really nice website with beautiful copy, also engaging copy, if you need help with that, you can reach out to us here at the Kimball Collective. That is what we also specialize in: branding, logos, website design, and copywriting. In Spanish too, which actually we do both English and Spanish. So thank you for watching, and we'll keep coming back and having more live videos and interesting topics. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And thank you to everyone watching as well.
Thank you. All right, Jessica and everybody. Bye. Have a great day.